I never thought this day was coming. I mean, Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I mean, come on. After Captain America Civil War, he proved to be, like, the best part about this movie. Tom Holland killed it in the role of Spider-Man. So now we have Tom Holland in his very own Spider-Man movie, and I can safely say I am very happy with the outcome of it. So the film starts off not long after the events of Civil War. I think it's like maybe 2 months after Civil War the movie takes place, and we're following Peter Parker, who he's just saved I guess the world, not really the world. He's helped the Avengers in a big fight that could have been something that could have saved the world. I don't know. I don't know how you would describe that fight, but he's just done that with the Avengers. He fought alongside Iron Man and the Vision of all people against like this giant version of Ant-Man. It's great. I mean, obviously you're going to be on a high after that. But yeah, so Spider-Man's just, or Peter Parker's just done all that, and he's waiting for a call from Tony Stark to go back into the action and become an Avenger. But, he doesn't get that call, and the whole movie he's sort of spending his time thinking, I really want to be fighting again, I want to be doing something better. He's just on the streets helping out old ladies and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, he wants more, and then all of a sudden, Michael Keaton's Vulture comes into the picture, and I like the Vulture in this movie. Usually MCU villains kind of suck, but the Vulture was really good in this film. I'll talk a bit more about him in detail later on, but he's been salvaging Shatari equipment from the Avengers fight in New York. I mean, that shit happened like 5, 6 years ago or something like that. I mean, is this stuff still knocking about? I guess it is. I mean, I guess it wouldn't go away. But anyway, he's salvaging equipment from the Shatari invasion in the Avengers. And Spider-Man wants to be in on this. But of course, Tony Stark, as his mentor, is like, this is too big for you. Leave, other people to do this. You just deal with the smaller scale stuff. We'll call you when we need you. But of course, Peter Parker needs to stop these guys and prove himself to Tony Stark, whilst also trying to get through high school. And this is very much a high school movie as well, because while we had Peter Parker in high school in the Sam Raimi trilogy, or the first Sam Raimi film for that matter, and also in The Amazing Spider-Man, he always looked too old. I mean, okay, as a kid, I was always a huge Spider-Man fan. I grew up with the first two Spider-Man movies, and I always loved them. The first one still remains one of my favourite superhero movies of all time. I can watch it millions of times and not get bored. But I've got to say that this film here, Tom Holland is the perfect Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's great. I love him in the role, but Tom Holland kills it, because it's like, as a kid, I looked up to Tobey Maguire, but I feel like this is like for kids looking up to Tom Holland now, going to see this film for the first time and getting introduced to Spider-Man. Tom Holland is perfect for it. He's young. He gives hope to kids, being so young, and you just watch him and think, I want to be this dude. I think he's like 15 in this film, and a lot of people say they think that's a little too young. I think it's pretty perfect, because Spider-Man, he's not a man, he's Spider-Boy, but seeing him in the suit, it's like this could be anyone, and I absolutely love that about the Spider-Man films. The high school stuff was great, but it never delves too deep into it, where it's a full-on teen comedy or a full-on teen drama. It has enough of that mixed with the action to make it interesting throughout. Side characters are really good. I mean, Ned Leeds I really liked. He was almost like the Harry Osborn of this film, but in this film it's more like Ned Leeds is like Milhouse to Peter Parker's Bart Simpson, where he's even more nerdy than Peter Parker, and he's like the sidekick, whereas in the original Spider-Man films, it was like Harry Osborn is, slightly cooler than Peter Parker, so Peter Parker's the sidekick. In this one, it was cool to see that whilst Peter Parker's a high school nerd, he's still got someone to have his back. That was great. And, all the kids in the high school were great. I mean, Flash Thompson and Zendaya's character, Michelle, none of them really did much, but watching them, it was like, yeah, this is pretty good. I can see that. I can see them as these specific characters. I mean, I don't know why they focused the marketing so heavily on Zendaya, because she doesn't really do much at all, but she was entertaining to watch. Same with Donald Glover's character. I had no idea who he was playing. I do now, and I'm not going to spoil it. I probably will make a spoiler video where I'll go into detail about who his character is. But even he didn't have much screen time. But a lot of the marketing was like, oh my god, who's Donald Glover going to play? Because we saw like such a brief glimpse of him in the trailer. But yeah, as I said, let's get on to the Vulture, who is he's brilliant. Michael Keaton, I love the guy as an actor. Birdman's brilliant. I love the Batman films that he's done. I think he is the best Batman we've had. And he loves playing winged characters, and the Vulture is another one of those in this big mechanical bird suit. But as Adrian Toomes, and not even as the Vulture, he is brilliant. He's scary as Adrian Toomes. There's a scene where he's in a car, you've seen it in the trailer, where he turns around and he's like, I'll kill everyone you love. And he doesn't even shout, he doesn't say anything like that. He speaks so calmly and so softly, and you're just watching him thinking, I will never cross this guy. And when he's got his big Vulture suit on, yeah, he's a big bad villain, and he's great. He's really good at it. And I think Michael Keaton should do more villain roles, because I loved him in this film. And I never really like MCU villains. I think the only ones I can think of that I like are Red Skull. Sometimes, he's not great, but I liked him. And Loki. Those are the only two that I can think of that were fairly strong. But, the Vulture is definitely up there with the best of the MCU villains now. I loved him. So, yeah, that was great. Also, yeah, Spider-Man himself. A lot of people thought this was going to be Iron Man 4. And it's really not. They really, really marketed heavily on Tony Stark and Iron Man in this film. I mean, on the official post, that really terrible photoshopped shitty one, you've got, like, Iron Man. He's even in front of the Spider-Man suit. Yeah, he's not in it much. I think he wears the Iron Man suit, like, in one scene of this film, which we've seen in the trailer. I think everything that Tony Stark or Iron Man does in this film, we saw in trailers. I mean, there's more to it than what the trailers tell us. Iron Man and Tony Stark do play quite a pivotal point in this film, but he's not got that much screen time because they really dedicate it all to Tom Holland, and it's his movie and it's not Robert Downey Jr.'s movie. But Spider-Man himself, he's heavily influenced by Tony Stark. The whole movie, he just wants to impress Tony Stark. I found out recently that Iron Man 2 scene with the kid in the Iron Man mask, they actually made that as Peter Parker, and it really makes sense in this film because you can tell he really looks up to him. He's watched him as he's grown up. He's watched the New York battle. Peter Parker's been there for most of this. So it makes sense for Tony Stark to be mentoring him with his mentorship program, as Peter Parker calls it. But at the same time, it makes sense for this to be Peter Parker's movie and not Tony Stark's. But when it comes to it, yeah, he's put in the equipment in the suit. I mean, I like the spin on that. I like the fact that, it's still Peter Parker who's built his own suit. He still built it from the ground up as a kid. But as a kid, he obviously doesn't have the money. He doesn't have much money. Where's he getting the materials from? And it makes sense for Tony Stark to have made him this upgraded suit, where he's got the extra webbing and the the controls. He's got like this Jarvis system. I think it's called Karen. I think it's voiced by Jennifer Connelly, who is the wife of Paul Bettany, who of course voices Jarvis and now plays Vision. It was pretty cool they did that. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but yeah, I like the whole interaction with Peter Parker and this suit, because with Tony Stark, he's a cocky asshole, but with Peter Parker, he's as sarcastic as Tony Stark, and it just really works for a teenager to be arguing with his suit. It's great. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like still the trailers did give away a bit too much, but I never actually watched trailer 3, and I'm glad I didn't, because I watched it after watching this film, and there were things that happened in that trailer that I didn't know were going to happen in this film, so that was really good. Overall, I really did enjoy Spider-Man Homecoming. I thought all the side characters were really good. The story was good. You could really see where the Vulture or Adrian Toomes was coming from. You could see why he was pissed off and why he wanted to get revenge against Stark. And, you could also see why Peter Parker felt like he had to go after him. It really works. The high school stuff works. Peter Parker being a kid in this film just made it that much better. I can't wait to see more Spider-Man in this universe. His interactions with Tony Stark and Iron Man are genuinely really good when they happen. But of course, like I said, Tony Stark doesn't drown out this movie, and this is definitely a Spider-Man film. And for that, I loved it. It was brilliant. It has its downtime, it has its high school drama on the occasion, but I liked seeing it because I liked seeing Spider-Man grow up, I liked seeing that stuff, and it was just a completely new spin on what we've seen before. There are quite a lot of villains in this film, but unlike Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, they work. And when I do a spoiler video, I'll talk about why they work and who they are. But for now, I would just say that Spider-Man Homecoming is definitely worth seeing. If you're a Spider-Man fan, chances are you're going to love this film like I do. I need to see it again because I felt there are little things you're going to miss. You know, that's with most Marvel films, but this one definitely. There's a lot of background characters that are mentioned that you've really got to concentrate on to know who they are. And I feel like I might have missed some of those. So I will be seeing it again. But if you've seen Spider-Man Homecoming, let me know what you think. What do you think of Tom Holland's performance? I think he's great. Probably the best Spider-Man yet. I'm not necessarily saying this is the best Spider-Man film we have seen, but I'm saying it is up there and it's definitely better than anything we've had since Spider-Man 2. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.